But anyway, so let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I was, considering using some other language in there, but I chose not to, at least for the next 25 seconds. Representative Greene slammed for comparing House COVID restrictions to the Holocaust. Okay, let's move on. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is being widely lambasted, for comparing the continuing coronavirus restrictions in the U.S. Capitol, not like the whole country, but specifically in the Capitol. Right, like the institution where people are elected, right, that have positions of power, go for work. Like, it's not like this is like, the whole entire country. No, this is just like like work with like a couple thousand people. In a recent appearance on Real America's Voices Network, The Water Cooler with David Brody, a conservative show, Greene complained about House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's recent decision to keep a mask mandate on the House floor over concerns that many Republican lawmakers might not be vaccinated. Didn't they vaccinate like all members of the House in like November or December or something? Oh my God. This woman is mentally ill, Greene said, referring to Pelosi. We can look back in a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens. So much so that they were put into trains. I just want to be very clear. This is not me saying this. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. They were put into trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany, and this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about. What? Greene was erroneously referring to the Yellow Star of David that most Jews under Nazi rule were ordered to wear. Earlier in the podcast, Brody balked at Pelosi's recent suggestion that unvaccinated GOP lawmakers who didn't want to wear a mask should vote in a separate gallery off of the House floor. I think she's talking segregation. That's right. I said it. Okay. Y'all. We need to have this conversation. There is a party that tried to literally overthrow the entire country. They tried... Again, I know, right? Like, this sounds crazy. Especially given that nothing happened. Like, especially given that literally nothing came out of this, right? It sounds crazy. You'd think if something like this were to have happened, right? Like, clearly something would have been done. But we have a political party that literally tried to end the United States of America. They tried to destroy the country and institute a monarchy on January 6th. Like, I know, it's crazy. Right? And then nothing happened, of course. Right? Like, what? Like, okay, so they tried to overthrow and destroy the country and institute monarchy, and then they all got away with it? Nothing happened? Yes, that's exactly... Right? But you need to understand, these motherfuckers are out of control. Like, I mean, seriously, and here's the thing, it doesn't matter if they believe this stuff. I think Marjorie does believe this. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is indicative of the average Republican voter that is this crazy. Now, I think that Trump knows that this shit is crazy and isn't himself personally all the way crazy. Now, I do think he's got his own little narcissistic, kind of interaction with this, and I do think he is partially crazy, but I think even he recognized that a lot of this stuff is just absolutely crazy. Right? But Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, is the exact representation of that Trump voter who actually believes all of it. Like, I know when you think to yourself, like, you hear all the QAnon bullshit, you think to yourself, dude, there's no way that they actually believe that shit. Marjorie Taylor Greene is that person who actually believes all that shit. And that's why, like, again, like, I love talking about her because you need to know where the Republican Party is right now. Like, I mean, like, again, like, these people, like, 80% of Republicans think that Donald Trump is the real winner of the election. He's not. Joe Biden won the election. By a lot, by a landslide. He won the election by a shitload. Right? At least, popular vote-wise. Electorally, it was a little bit closer than it should have been. But, hey, whatever. But the 80% of Republicans, just, whatever. Wait, what? Right? There was this poll, and I will be citing this poll for the rest of my life. Right? There was this poll when the coronavirus pandemic started that found that 50% of Republicans in swing states, now again, the numbers could be different nationally, but it was like, a thing with like, whatever. Right? It was like, grouped with a different poll or whatever. 50% of Republicans in swing states as of like April or May 2020 do not wash their hands. Look it up. They don't wash their hands. Right? So I just I want you to know that there's like a through line here of like, these people are dumb motherfuckers. Like, they are not in the same world that we are in. Right? They operate and they live in an entirely separate reality. And that is so fascinating to me. Like, they live their whole lives in a different world. Like, they don't live on planet Earth. They don't live in the USA as it's constituted. They live in a fantasy world. They live in their own heads. And I wish I could live in my own head. I wish I was so privileged, right, that I could just exist without like having to worry about like my worldview being changed by like external stimuli. But again, these motherfuckers are crazy. And it's not like they're just like out of control and wacky. It's not like these are your like, crazy grandma who's like going through dementia, who's like, forgot that she, isn't in the 1950s anymore and like, is saying some racist shit. Right? That's not the position that we're in right now. Right? We are in a position where a political party with actual strength and power in the United States actually almost and got relatively close. Now, I don't think that they, but I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? With Trump in power at the time, who knows? I don't know. Right? But they made significant headway into overthrowing and ending the United States of America as we know it. Like, this isn't like just like, fucking someone chilling in their retirement home that, is pretty crazy and, whatever. These are actually people that are actually dangerous. And again, look at the police force. The police force is an extension of these people. 80% of police voted for Donald Trump. So look at what happened with Andrew Brown's assassination by police, right? 80% of those cops voted for Donald Trump. 40% of those cops beat their spouses, right? And you can look at all these other reports and statistics, right? And so these cops also disproportionately are crazy. 80% of them want to overthrow democracy. 40% of them don't even care about their family members. They want to abuse and beat their own family, right? These people are not they're not normal, they're not sane, they're not emotionally stable, they're crazy. And they're an extension of the crazy that is the Republican Party and is the Republican voter. And I need to be very clear, there is a difference between the party and the voter, right? The Republican Party is a terrorist organization, full stop. Full stop. But the Republican voter is a confused, lonely, and fucking just absolutely insanely selfish, narcissistic psychopath. That is the Republican voter. Like, I'm sorry, when 80% of the party just doesn't agree that the election, about the election, I'm sorry, but you don't live in the same world. When 80% of the party thinks that Trump rightfully won the election and that same big lie is what led them to trying to overthrow the entire system of fucking governance, right? I'm sorry, but that is psychosis. In a very serious fashion, that is psychosis. You know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck? And you need to understand the fucking mindset of the Republican voter is just, they live in a different world. So, even if they lived in our world and their desires were the same, they wanted to institute an ethno-state, they wanted to kill all poor people, they wanted to kill trans and gay people, they want to kill people of color, they want to, do all that stuff. If those desires were the exact same, but their understanding of reality were any different, right? The whole calculus would be changed, right? The whole calculus would be changed. But it's the combination of the fact that they do not live in reality. Some of them do. Right? Like I said, you got the 20% that do live in reality and have their desires are aligned, right? But most of them don't. But when you have the combination where the driving factor of this party, of this terrorist organization, the driving factor are people that don't even, not only do they not have a license to drive, but they don't even know what a car is. And I need you to, I'm trying to institute a way for you to understand this. They don't even know what the hell they're in. They don't know that they're in a vehicle that can move, and they don't know how the vehicle can move. They are driving a terrorist organization with real political power into doing some very dangerous stuff, and they have no fucking clue what they're doing. Right? And so that is most, like, illustriously representative in Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, she is just a clueless, dumb fuck for brains, loser idiot who says whatever the fuck someone else DMs her on Twitter or on Gab or on fucking Parler. She just says it because she's a fucking moron. And then you've got, again, she is a moron, but she is indicative of the 80% of the Republican Party that thinks that Donald Trump is the real rightful president. Those people are fucking crazy. And she is that representative, right? 80% of the Republican Party's elected officials are not that crazy, right? But 80% of the base, that's a whole different story. And that 80% is represented in Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that's the thesis of my video.